Is your business pootling along instead of firing on all cylinders? Are you feeling overwhelmed, stressed, and frustrated? Do your dreams of financial freedom feel a long way off? Then this is the podcast for you. Little Voice, Big Business, with your host, Nadia Finer.
Hello and welcome to Little Voice, Big Business, with me, Nadia Finer. Today we're going to talk about Facebook tribes. I'm a real fan of Facebook as a way to grow your audience and to engage with people. Over the years, I've tried lots of different methods to build community. I've tried different software, bespoke tools and platforms, but nothing really compares to Facebook. And in fact, given that most of us are on Facebook, does it really make sense for us as a business owner to try and persuade people to move away from Facebook and spend time somewhere else? I think trying to do that is a fool's errand and is not going to work well. In fact, I can say this with conviction because I've tried it and it doesn't actually work. So let's assume that your audience is hanging out on Facebook. It's not going to work for everybody because let's say you're targeting business to business and most of your clients are going to be on LinkedIn. They're probably not even allowed to use Facebook. So for the purpose of this episode, let's assume that you're targeting people who are in fact spending time on Facebook. And we're going to talk a little bit about how to build up a tribe using Facebook groups. Facebook groups are incredibly powerful because they allow you to control your audience. You can control who's allowed in and you can obviously kick people out as well. Although there are disadvantages in that you don't necessarily get somebody's email address, therefore you are slightly vulnerable because let's say Facebook goes down, or as has been known to happen, people's groups get taken over by hackers or frozen or deleted, then potentially you've lost everything. So tip number one is to ask people to opt in, or have a way of asking them to opt in once they're in the group, perhaps to a freebie, or even opt in to become part of the group that will allow you to contact them via email. So should the worst happen, you have actually got a way of contacting them and you know who is in the group, as opposed to leaving it all in the hands of a huge corporation who at any moment may pull the plug. That's my sensible warning to kick things off. And assuming that we do that, there are lots of tips that I've got to share with you on how you can actually grow your group into something which drives your business, something which builds your credibility and raises your profile amongst your target audience. To start off with, you create a group on Facebook. Now, what are you going to do? The number of people who I speak to and who ask me, is it okay just to add people to my group? The answer to that is no. How annoyed are you when somebody randomly adds you to a group that you didn't give permission to be part of? It's the Facebook equivalent of spamming. I guess it's spamming, but it's worse actually. It's just so in your face, and it's assuming that the person's going to want to be part of your group, which, although they might be your mum or your friend or your sister, they haven't necessarily given you permission. So definitely don't do that. Always invite people to join or email them with the link where they can request to join themselves. That's a bit like asking people to opt in for a list. You wouldn't just spam them with your emails. Instead, you're going to give them the choice and explain that if they were to opt in, this is what's going to happen. So that brings me to the second point, which is your group needs to have a clear purpose. People need to understand why they're part of it, who it's for, who you are, that you're the one running the group. You could write a great introduction to the group in the description. You could also even post a video which explains the purpose of the group to people. The header artwork that you use, it needs to clearly explain what the group is, give the name of the group and set the tone for the group as well. So once you've done these things, it shouldn't take too long because I'm assuming you know what your group is all about and who it's for. Next, you're ready to start spreading the word and inviting people to your group. Now, you can't charge people to be part of your group if it's just the group alone. That goes against Facebook's regulations. However, you may choose to have a group which forms part of the benefits for, say, a membership program. So, for example, the Actionista Academy, my inner circle coaching group, has a Facebook group as part of the membership package. So one of the awesome things about being part of the Academy is that you get to be in this really intimate Facebook group where I'm able to communicate with you constantly and answer your questions. So I'm not charging people to be part of that Facebook group per se, but it's just one of the benefits. My other Facebook group, Little Voice Big Business, the description of the group is a closed group. It's open to people, anybody, if you're listening now. It's open to you to join the group. You just request to join and I'll let you in. So this is not for clients, it's not for paying customers as such, it's for anybody who's interested. And I would say that that is therefore my tribe. A lot of people use this model where they have a larger open but closed Facebook group for their tribe and then smaller paid groups for their clients or members of particular programs. So that's certainly something to consider. Who is this group you're creating for? And I'm assuming that we're going to be building your tribe and therefore it needs to be a closed group, not a private group, otherwise no one will find it. A closed group, but one which is open to people to request to join. Okay, so with Facebook groups, I always get alarm bells ringing when someone requests to join one of my groups and I see that they're a member of 4,300 other Facebook groups. This immediately gives me the subtle clue that they may in fact be a spammer. One of those people who goes into every group they're in, probably not physically themselves, probably using some kind of scheduling tool to basically spam everybody with details of their latest multi-level marketing product or something. So don't be one of those people. If you join a group belonging to somebody else, I suggest that you participate fully and actually in real life. It's much better to be part of, say, 3 or 4 groups where you're really involved, really engaged. You get to know people, you know the person who runs the group and you get a lot out of it, rather than just being one of those people who link dumps. And in the same way, you don't want those link dump spammers to be in your group because they'll be breaking the rules. And it's very annoying because it will just mean that you spend hours of your life deleting all their crap from your group. Which brings me to another point. I think that every group should have rules. So I'm not saying being super strict, but it's a good idea to have some rules to give people an idea of the kind of behaviour you would expect in your group. So I hate link dumping and spammers. I can't bear it. I can't bear that, I have a local group for my town in St Albans, Startup St Albans, and I can't bear it. I go in there and people just post any old shit in my group the whole time. Oh, come to this, come to that, we're launching this, come to that, come to this. And they don't engage in anything and I just delete them and kick them straight out the group. it's not cool behaviour at all. So it's a good idea to get really strict about that kind of behaviour and be really clear about the kind of things that you expect from people. Do you expect people to be really kind and helpful and supportive towards others? Probably yes, so you need to explain that that's what you expect from people. Obviously, the kind of guys you attract are going to be your kind of people, so if your vibe is a little bit more edgy or a bit more professional and corporate and sensible, then those are probably the kind of people you're going to attract. But I do think it's important to lay it out there and say, here's what I expect from people, because, well, it saves you a lot of work in the long run. And also, if someone does misbehave, you can refer them back to the rules. So some rules that I've seen are things like no posting links, no promoting your own posts, definitely not promoting opt-ins, because that's people just using your group to grow their list, and that's very annoying. So really set out the kind of behaviour you expect from people. So how are you going to go about building this group of super fans, people who hang on every single word you say and can't wait to buy into your next product or service, or read your next blog, or listen to your next podcast episode? How are you going to go about doing that? Well, first of all, I think it's really important to be focused. Be really clear about the people that you want to attract. It's not about having the biggest group out there, because actually that's a bit of a pain in the ass to manage when you get like 20,000 people in a group. I feel like that's too big. 2,000 is a great number for a group. That's big enough. I think once it gets beyond that, it becomes really difficult to manage, and people don't really know who the other people are in the group, and it just becomes slightly chaotic and anonymous. So aiming for thousands and thousands of people in a group feels too generic to me. I think it's a good idea to focus and be really clear about who you're for. And actually, if you're not clear, like let's say your group is created for people who have a particular approach to parenting, well, if you had people within the group who were of a different opinion and who didn't like your methodology, if those people were in your group, then it's not going to be so much of a fun place to hang out, because rather than having a tribe of superfans who look up to you and listen to you, you're going to be battling with people who disagree with everything you say, which quite frankly is going to be a real pain. So that's not the plan. There are lots of really easy tricks that you can use within your group to engage your audience. And I think wishy-washy kind of statements about how are you feeling or what are you doing today, people don't really engage with that so much, because they feel like, why are you asking me and who the hell are you anyway? So number one, I think, is to always share something of yourself. So for example, you could share with people, today the weather's gorgeous and I went to the beach and here's what I did at the beach. And then you can say, what do you like to do when it's sunny? So you've already shared something about yourself. Okay, that's a really lame example, but you get the idea. So you know what I'm doing, and then you ask them what they're doing, and keeping it simple really works. So sometimes you can say, describe your day in 3 words, that kind of thing, making it easy for people to contribute. If there's a blank slate almost, and you're expecting people to comment and share their deepest thoughts with you, and you don't go first, then I think that's actually quite tricky. Whereas if you ask a simple question like, where are you from? Or dogs or cats? It might seem silly, but it makes it easier for people to engage and for people to get involved in the conversation. On that note, you can also create a poll. I never really know how to say that. Actually, I'm going to call it a question because I can't say poll. Poll. You just click ask question instead of write post in your group. So I don't know if you knew that. Ask question, and then it adds different question options. So you can ask people, how old are your children? Under 5, over 5, don't have any kids, and give people the choice and see how people vote. So the reason I'm doing this episode today is because I asked the guys in my Facebook group, Little Voice Big Business, what they wanted to know about. And the top answer was how to build a tribe on Facebook. So I knew that's what they wanted to hear, which is why I'm here talking about this. So it's really simple. You just go ask question and then add some options and maybe a little intro. And there you've got it. You've got your own really super simple questionnaire that people can complete without having to get too involved, which is going to improve engagement. Plus you get some really great feedback and find out more about your guys, which is also important. The other thing I really like to do is create theme days. So for example, in my group we have Wednesday, which is obviously on a Wednesday because I like a little pun or play on words. And on Wednesday we share the wins, the achievements that we've had over the past week. And I think it's a really great way for people to know that they come to the group on a Wednesday and they celebrate their success. It's the same every week and it creates structure and gives people a reason to come to the group. I think that having themes, if you plan them properly, can be a really effective way to boost engagement. So you obviously have to think of some themes that work for your people. If I was doing a sports group, what would I do? Maybe like Muddy Mondays and get people to go and do something muddy on a Monday. Yes, I am a fan of alliteration. I can't help it. So there we go. Themes and questions, keeping it really simple, making it easy for people to respond. If things go quiet, which can sometimes happen, it happens to the best of us. You know, sometimes I feel like my group's gone a bit quiet. Where is everybody? And obviously they're busy. They've got other groups they're part of. They're working on their businesses. So what do? Well, one option is to tag people. You can tag chatty people in the group and remind them that you're there by asking a question and asking for their feedback or their response. Obviously, as the group grows, you can't tag 2,000 people because that would be very time consuming, but I would suggest just reminding people that they're part of the group and that you'd like their feedback is a really great way to keep engagement high. Another thing you can do is giving people free stuff. So inviting them to have a free call with you or coming to a webinar or doing a Google Hangout. You can actually do a Google Hangout and link to it within your group so that people in the group can watch it live, which sounds pretty awesome. I've never actually done it as I am a little bit of a technophobe. Don't tell anybody. But it's true. So it's one of the things I've been meaning to do, and I may well try it if you ask me to nicely in my group. So there's questions, there's tagging, there's theme days, competitions. I think being of service, offering to help people. You know, the reason they're there is to hang out with you, so offer to help them out, see what they need, and then be there to help them. Don't just endlessly flog them your stuff. I know you guys wouldn't do that because you're listening to this podcast and that's just not the way we roll. But, you know, sometimes you do constantly in a group feel sold to, and that's when I leave. You know, I don't need to be sold to constantly by somebody, so don't be that person. Yes, it's your group and you have the right to tell people about your stuff, but I think being of service and making yourself useful and helping people out is definitely the way to go. So offer to help them, ask what they're struggling with, and then be there to answer. You know, you can also maybe offer people a free consultation or a discovery call if you have a service like that, or maybe a free trial or a sample, something along those lines as a benefit for and reward to say thank you for being part of your tribe. Okay, what happens if it gets ugly? So let's say you're in your group and someone starts posting weird stuff or complaining. I wouldn't recommend this, well, within reason, if it's like dodgy, weird troll stuff, then definitely delete it. But, if someone's got a fair point or a complaint, or they're not happy with something and they're asking you to resolve it, having a Facebook group enables you to keep a really close eye on what people are saying about you and your brand, and you can get in there straight away and fix it. And the way you resolve a problem, you can really turn that to your advantage and show what a responsible and caring business owner you are, not someone who just leaves people to whinge about their stuff in the group. So I think having a group, there is a level of responsibility. You need to be in the group. There's no point in, I really don't like it when I'm in groups and you never see the person. You never see the person who's running the group in there. They're just kind of busy counting their dollars and telling you maybe how much money they made this past month, sharing their income reports, which I really don't like, but that's a whole other conversation for another day. I think that when you have a group, you have a responsibility to your people to be in there, to be supporting them and helping them, and for them to know that you're the person who is leading the group is really important. If they're wondering, who the hell does this group belong to and why am I even here? I think that's just a huge wasted opportunity. Does a Facebook group need to exist forever? Well, not necessarily. So, for example, you could have a group which is part of, say, a 30-day challenge, although actually 30 days is too long for a challenge, but let's say 21 days. A 21-day challenge you decide to run, and you have a group that goes alongside the challenge. So you're going to be driving people to your Facebook group and supporting them during the challenge. But what happens after the challenge? Does this mean that you need to be in the group forever after? For eternity, constantly providing support for those people? Well, I suggest not, actually. I think that when a challenge finishes, or a finite course, or some kind of event that you've built a group around, you should move people, not literally, not adding them randomly to another group, but you should encourage them to sign up for another product, for example, or to opt in for something else. Don't just end up with 25 different groups where you're spending your entire life helping and supporting different groups of people for different things. It becomes, all-encompassing, and I would suggest not the best way to run a business. So be aware that at a certain point your group may well come to the end of its lifetime, and you would therefore move people to something else at the end of that. Okay, so final point is that having a group, a tribe of people, yes, you are their leader or their queen, I suppose, but the group is not just about you. It's not a kind of vanity project for you to showcase, the marvel that is in fact you. You're building a tribe of people who do look up to you, but who are there to be supported and to be encouraged. The group is about them, not about you. So the moment I think that the group becomes just about the leader, it loses all its value, and I think people will soon get bored of being there. The reason people keep coming back to a group or to a tribe is because of the value it delivers and the benefits, how it helps them. So be that person who is generous with advice and help and support and encouragement. Don't be that slightly irritating ego who just shows off about their stuff because nobody wants to hang out with them. So I hope that's been useful, and I was really happy to be able to answer a question that was upvoted in my group. So yeah, if you have any more questions about Facebook tribes, or you're not sure what to do, or you need a hand, head over to my Facebook tribe, Little Voice Big Business, and I'll be happy to help you out. I'd also really love to hear back what you think about my podcast. I'm definitely getting used to it now, and hopefully you can tell that as the episodes go by, my confidence is growing slightly, although, it's still a slightly sweaty experience for me, but hopefully as the weeks go by, less deodorant will be required. And on that rather ladylike note, I shall leave you for another day, and hopefully I will be in touch soon. I've got a really nice long list of questions to answer over the coming weeks, so stay tuned and watch out for my next episodes. I look forward to talking to you again soon. Bye bye.
Little voice, big business.